against any opponent are tough, but against them, how much do they make you pay tonight?
26 points of paying. That's what they did. We talked about it before the game, showed the film. They reach, they grab, they swipe at the ball. We were too loose with it in a lot of these moments, but you got to give Detroit a ton of credit. That's the reason why they're the #1 team in the East, because they get after it physically, they get after it defensively. And we've got to do a much better job of valuing the possessions in a game like this. You hold a team to 106, but you gave them 26 of them.
They also scored 66 points in the paint. What do you think broke down defensively in the paint tonight?
26 points off turnovers. So that's, you're going another half the numbers are basically because of the transition. They were getting layups. So it's hard to keep them out of the paint when it's wide open in transition. So it was the turnovers that led to those. Some of it was we got to do a better job of our closeouts, understand who we're closing out to. They're an attack middle team that wants to get downhill and get to the paint. We've got to do a better job of that. We did a good job on Duncan Robinson and taking out the three, but then our ability to contain the basketball in those situations and not turn it over.
Your team shot 16 for 34 in the paint on that end. That's 47%. Why do you think this team has struggled tonight and at times finishing around the rim?
Well, tonight you got to give Detroit a ton of credit for what they did at the rim. They had somebody there all the time. Their low man was present each time we attacked the basket. You stop the film and you pause it at any time. They got 3 and 4 guys around you. Now, we did have some wide open sprays, some wide open looks that, they just didn't go down at the right moment. And when those long shots go up and there's a long rebound, they were off to the races. And so, again, we got to do a better job of getting downhill, knowing how much of a crowd is there, and being able to pass it out and keep trusting that pass. But when you get down there and you can finish, you have to finish.
You talk always about the game of runs. There's another kind of big run in that fourth quarter. I think you guys had it tied at 83, and then they went 14-2 even after calling a timeout. What needs the conversation needs to be, or what needs to happen to kind of slow those down and kind of get back that calm and presence?
I'm going back, and I have to go back and look at the film, but I'm guessing after the timeout, 3 or 4 turnovers happened after that. A great look. I think we come out of the timeout. Jet gets a great wide open look in that corner. It just doesn't go down, and now they're off to the races. So I think it's those things right there, being able to settle ourselves down, knowing exactly what we're going to get into and how to attack it. But you have to give Detroit a ton of credit for how they defend and put you in different situations by reaching and getting hands on the basketball. You're not just going to be able to easily run through your sets.
Coach Paulo had 9 of the turnovers tonight. And do you think that there's maybe been a change in how teams are defending him, especially when Franz isn't out on the court, and just over the course of his career? How different are teams defending him, and why are these turnovers happening with Paulo having the ball in his hands?
Yeah, I'll have to go back and look at the film and a lot of it. I think tonight you have to credit Detroit with so much of it because of how they play. There's a reason why they lead the league in points off in top 5 and points off turnovers, deflections, and steals. So they're getting their hand on the basketball at all times. When we get downhill, we have to know guys are reaching and swiping. The moment you turn your back, you're going to have 3 guys ready to take the basketball from you. We've got to create pockets and open space for guys to be able to have outlets. Then we just got to be tighter with the basketball.
Coach, I know there's no moral victories in a game like this, but Tristan had one of his more productive offensive nights in a while. How important is that consistency going to be from him, especially with Franz continuing to miss time?
Yeah, consistency is key for us. Our ability to try to keep the same lineups as best as possible. But when he plays aggressive, started out the game aggressively, got downhill. Now they got a couple of blocks at the rim, but he was not afraid to get in there, stepping into his shot with confidence. He had a great downhill attack for a lob with Dell, and that's what we're going to need, because if teams are going to be loaded up on one side on Paulo and Desmond, we got to have other guys that can step in and make plays.
Obviously you guys didn't have Franz or AB, but we were talking yesterday about how Detroit's the top team in the East, and you guys are where you are in this the point in the season. What does this result say about your team?
Right now, I'm looking at the column, which is a loss, and so it says that we got to do a better job of taking care of the basketball, no matter who's on the floor. We got to do a better job of trusting, continue to trust the pass. And then the other side of it is that, they started off that first quarter, they had 7 offensive rebounds quick. And so that's a key thing when you're trying to guard and defend the right way. You got to finish out possession. So, yeah, we did some good things within this game. It's a tale of 2 halves again. We come out and play well, play hard, and then that second half, they turned up the heat. We turned it over. And, again, give them credit for the way that they played. But it was a good test for us to see what we can do and how much we can continue to get better.
Coach, you talked about the defensive intensity turning up from the Pistons second half, forcing those turnovers. Do you credit most of that to Asar Thompson and Jalen Duren on the defensive side turning up that energy, or does it come down to decision making? And is there ways that you would kind of like to talk to your team about addressing that decision making in the half court when it comes to executing late game? And how do you help them in those situations as the season goes on and these keep popping up?
Yeah, I think those are things that you got to look at halftime, which we did. Again, it's a tale of two halves. So something was working, and at the end of the day, you have to stick with what is working, and you're not going to change that, in the second half. And now they did pick up the defense, but the ability for us to recognize what was happening, Asar did well, Jalen did well, but at the end of the day, we have steals, and you have turnovers, you have Asar with 2 steals, Tobias with 2 steals, Jalen with 2 steals, Cade Cunningham with 2 steals, Karis LeVert with 2 steals, and then you have Jenkins with 3 steals. It's all of them. It's 26 turns, or 19 turnovers for 26 points. So that we got to be better there and recognize what the game plan is, and now we got to take care of the basketball. That is what this game was tonight, taking care of the basketball. We did not do it, and now we have a chance to get it back against Washington in this next game coming up. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
P, they're a group that capitalizes on takeaways. How much did turnovers as a collective make it tough to come away with a victory tonight?
Yeah, definitely thought we had too many turnovers. I had too many turnovers. Yeah, I just gave them too many opportunities.
Was there a common trend that you noticed with your 9 turnovers tonight, or just what did you feel that was forcing those turnovers?
I think it was, a couple bad passes, trying to give it up to my teammates when maybe I should have just shot it. A couple of those, travel, over and back call. So just a bad night. And last game had no turnovers. This game had 9, so pretty frustrating.
With Tristan de Silva, actually, obviously he's been logging more extended minutes. What have you seen from him consistently playing alongside with him with those heavy minutes?
Yeah, just him being aggressive, knocking down shots, taking the shots, taking the right shots, playing his role.
You just said it was a frustrating night for you. How do you put this behind you and move on to the next game?
Go to sleep and wake up. You're ready for Tuesday.
The last 2 games, the opponents put on some pretty big runs. I think it was 11-0 in the third quarter. They had a 14-2 run in the fourth that kind of put things away. What needs to happen as maybe they're picking up steam to calm the team down and kind of stop that from snowballing the way that it has the last 2 games?
Just being more organized, being able to communicate with each other, what we're trying to do, Teams a lot of times adjust, at halftime, and I think that's why we've struggled a lot in the second half, just because, we don't really adjust to their adjustments. So that's when we need to see how they're playing us, and we just need to clearly communicate to each other, what it is that we need to do, particularly offensively, to, fight those runs and, continue to play good basketball.
Paolo, how much did not having AB out there tonight affect the game plan that y'all had? Obviously, it kind of forced you into more ball handling opportunities, and maybe that led to more turnovers, just more usage in your hands. But how did the team just react to not having AB out there, and how did it change everything?
Yeah, he's played, I think, every game this year, so first time without him, and obviously he's a talented player, so we could have used him out there tonight.
What were the challenges that Asar Thompson posed defensively in the second half? And when you get 14 free throws in the first half, only 2 in the second half, does that make you have to adjust and change your mindset or adjust any game plan on the fly when that's kind of happening in real time?
No, I only took, 10 shots, so I think I could have been a lot more aggressive, could have looked to score a lot more, but, I did a great job getting downhill in the first half, and second half, our offense just got stagnant. And I think that, me having 9 turnovers just wasn't a good enough effort by me. So.
Tristan, they're a group that can capitalize on miscues. How much did the turnovers hurt you guys tonight and make it difficult to come out with a win?
Yeah, I mean, hurt big time. You know, if you combine that with the rebounding numbers, I feel like that kind of paints the picture of what it was that hurt us in the second half, especially.
What changed from your perspective on the court in that second half? Was it something they did differently, or just what was your perspective of it?
I mean, we kind of had a flow in the first half, and I feel like maybe we thought that the baskets that we can generate, you know, in the half court and then in transition would come easy, you know, and I feel like they're too good of a team and have proven that throughout the season so far that, you know, it's not easy to score on them, and we kind of, you know, took some early shots, maybe some shots that weren't necessarily in rhythm or weren't necessarily open at the rim, and, you know, it makes it hard on us because then that's fast break opportunities for them when they, you know, get a blocked shot or you know, a shot that kind of leads to a break.
Kind of on that, the last two games there have been these big runs in the third and the fourth quarter. I think they went 11-0 to get a 10-point lead here tonight. They had another 14-2 run in the fourth that kind of put the game away. What, as players on the court, what do you need to be talking about or need to be saying to kind of to calm down or stop that from happening in the moment?
Yeah, just staying with the process of what we're doing. You know, not getting caught up in the momentum of the game, and just, you know, keep chopping wood and staying with the stuff that works, and you know, not overreacting when stuff doesn't go our way, and just knowing how to get back to you know, the type of basketball that we want to play.
Yeah, Tristan, what's the vibe in the locker room like after a loss like this? You got back-to-back losses now after your good road trip out west. So how even-keeled is the team even after these losses?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it stings. You know, everybody kind of feels like we've been giving games away now, 2 in a row, that we kind of had in control for a good amount of time, and it doesn't necessarily discourage us for the remainder of the season. I don't think that's an issue or that's a problem. I think the guys are very locked in and very you know, focused on the next game, and that's the biggest thing for us. Just staying with the process and getting the next one. You know, that's all you can do. Thanks, Tristan. Thank you.